The New Testament contains ancient writings of Paul, who claimed to have encountered the resurrected Jesus. He said that Jesus appeared to him in 1 Corinthians 15:8. He said that his message came not by human teaching, but directly by revelation of Jesus in Galatians 1:12. He is quoted twice in the book of Acts, telling how he encountered the resurrected Jesus. This is undeniably Paul's story. Last week, I talked about whether Paul had a delusion that led him to experience this moment with Jesus, and I tried to show that a delusion would be unlikely. But what if Paul was lying the whole time? There are several problems with the theory that Paul was lying. First, if you're going to lie, you need motive. Why would Paul lie about seeing Jesus? Perhaps he liked the Christian message and wanted to convince more people, but we know that Paul's life was not easy as a Christian. There is plenty of evidence that Paul even died as a martyr, and no evidence to the contrary. People die for things they believe to be true all the time, but if Paul lied, he would have believed it to be false. It would be extremely rare for anyone to die for something that they know isn't true. Whatever motivation he had for lying would not be worth his own death. Second, if you're going to lie, then you'll tell your story in a way that would be hard for people to disprove you. This is what makes his statement in 1 Corinthians 15 important. In addition to his own experience seeing Jesus, Paul said that Jesus appeared to Peter, to James, to the 12, and he even mentions 500 individual witnesses. Obviously, we don't have their names because Paul would not bother to write them all out, but it's evident Paul kept tabs on each of these people since he knows of those who have since passed away. In saying all this, Paul is challenging his audience to check out the facts themselves by interviewing the many people that he has contact with. If Paul was lying about this all, he would not have made it so easy for his audience to disprove him. Even without 1 Corinthians 15, Paul's own story would have been so easy to disprove. Imagine I started saying that I used to be an atheist who persecuted the church, but I'm a Christian now because of a sudden encounter with Jesus. This might help me draw more listeners to my YouTube channel, but all of my friends and family who knew me growing up would call me out, especially my atheist friends, as they should. My career as a Christian influencer would not flourish, it would die. Paul might have gotten away saying that he was always a Christian and had a vision of Jesus, but he would never be able to get away saying that he was formerly a Pharisee and an enemy of the church. Third, it would be unlikely Paul lied because of the way he made his appeal to the church in Galatia in Galatians 1:13-16. Here, Paul is trying to establish credibility with the Galatians, and he appeals to their own knowledge. He says, "For you have heard my previous way of life in Judaism, how intensely I persecuted the church of God and tried to destroy it. I was advancing in Judaism beyond many of my own age among my people and was extremely zealous for the traditions of my fathers. But when God, who sent me apart from my mother's womb and called me by his grace, was pleased to reveal his Son in me so that I might preach him among the Gentiles, my immediate response was not to consult any human being." Evidently, the Galatians knew of Paul's former life. Since he was a danger to the church, his name would have been circling around, and that's what Paul appeals to. If Paul was never a former enemy of the church, why would he think that his argument to the Galatians would have an effect here? But if Paul was a former enemy of the church, why would he suddenly have a change of heart, come up with a lie that Jesus appeared to him, and suddenly become the very thing he was trying to destroy? For these reasons, I find it very unlikely that Paul was lying when he said that he encountered the resurrected Jesus. As I shared in last week's video, I don't think Paul had a delusion either. Next week, I'll look at one final question regarding Paul. What if he was nothing more than an invention by the early church? So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.